0 a.m. after Magneto, the Savage Land, Antarctica. We find these tribesmen tracking a massive dinosaur, but as luck would have it, they're backed up by Wolverine, who comes through riding a triceratops of his own. As the tribesmen track the creature, eventually they find what they're looking for. But upon laying eyes on the creature, the men immediately retreat, as the creature proceeds to chow down on Wolverine's triceratops. But we all know Wolverine is not going for that shit. Wolverine charges the creature only to get bitten, but the creature spits him out once he realizes he's a metal skeleton. Wolverine proceeds to badly mutilate the dinosaur, ripping out all its guts. But before Wolverine could deal a finishing blow, the creature is shot in the head by none other than Nick Fury. Now Wolverine is pissed off about this, but Nick Fury has actually come with a job. See, it's heavily implied that we're close to the end of the world, as there was a blinding purple light and then Magneto's death. Now Wolverine agrees and he accompanies Nick Fury. Upon heading to Nick Fury's airship, Wolverine is greeted by Captain America as well as the Winter Soldier. But they are also backed up by several S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Nick Fury explains that when Asteroid M came in at an angle and detonated over Quebec, billions of people were lost, and the West as we know it probably has less than a week left before it's gone for good. Now Wolverine thinks it's awfully convenient that S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't around during this cataclysm. But Nick Fury explains that S.H.I.E.L.D. had 20 helicarriers before Asteroid M blew up. Now you're looking at the last 3. Nick Fury explains that Asteroid M set off an EMP that was strong enough to fry everything for miles. The only way to save people is to turn the lights back on. And this isn't a military operation, it's actually a heist. The target is the Tunguska Station, as the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants seem to have a cold fusion seed reactor in their possession. This piece of tech may be capable of saving countless lives. After Nick Fury gives the sit rep, everybody heads to their assigned station. 20 minutes later, the team would hear a big ass boom as one of their helicarriers would get taken out. As the group tries to figure out what's going on, the next helicarrier comes barreling towards them, so the group is forced to make a surprise extraction. Apparently, Mastermind got in the head of one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and is subsequently controlling the ship. Cap, Bucky, and Wolverine jump off the ship in the nick of time as they're accompanied by the last remaining S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. As the group reaches the ground, they take note of their surroundings and they can see the Tunguska Station in the distance. Now, for some dumbass reason, they all decide to split up in order to cover more ground. As one S.H.I.E.L.D. agent is walking through the snow, he gets impaled through the back by a mysterious hooded figure in all red. The next S.H.I.E.L.D. agent would be sawed and killed by another mysterious figure, while the final S.H.I.E.L.D. agent would be violently beheaded, leaving only Cap, Bucky, and Wolverine. As Bucky makes it to the bottom of the summit, he thinks it's very suspicious that no one else has made it down here yet. But as Bucky senses something to be wrong, he gets ambushed and incapacitated. Elsewhere, as Cap is riding his shield down the hill as a snowboard, he sees the station in the distance. But next thing he knows, he's ambushed and incapacitated by metal tentacles. Last but not least is Wolverine, and Wolverine knows they're there as Wolverine has Sabertooth's scent. Now Wolverine's not going out like a bitch, so he proceeds to engage these assholes. But unfortunately, the 3 of them prove too much as he's incapacitated and taken down. Wolverine, Cap, and Bucky wake up chained to a pole, and the 3 heroes know there's something wrong as they can feel something odd in their chest. Mastermind goes on to explain that in order to get them to cooperate, they put bombs inside their chests. But then Collosus appears to let the heroes know just because they think their cause is right, it does not justify their thievery. But now Wolverine is really pissed off. because he understands why Sabertooth, Mastermind, and Omega Red is here. Hell, he even understands why Deadpool is here. But Colossus? But nevertheless, the evil mutants release the heroes and they let them know if they just leave, they can get out of the blast radius. Now Captain America and Bucky delta the hell out of there, but Wolverine stays behind as he needs to talk to Colossus. But as Wolverine goes to talk to Colossus, Deadpool, being the dumbass and the wild card that he is, takes the opportunity to blow up Cap and Bucky anyway. Now Wolverine sees that, and that pisses him off immensely as Wolverine attempts to claw the bomb out of his chest. Colossus apologized as he didn't want it to have to be this way. But Deadpool detonates Wolverine's bomb, leaving little more than a bloody pile of flesh. But Wolverine's not dead yet, because only someone with a healing power on par with Wolverine could reassimilate from being blown apart in such a manner. Wolverine would meet up with Nick Fury and have a small funeral for his two fallen comrades. Wolverine would vow revenge on the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants that did this to Captain America and Bucky. 3 months later, Wolverine would be making his way through the Dakotas when he would be found by none other than Danny Moonstar. Danny lets Wolverine know that if he's trying to sneak up over here, he missed about 100 motion sensors, but Wolverine lets her know that he ain't sneaking anywhere. Danny tells Wolverine he's trespassing, but Wolverine thinks it's strange that they have power while no one else does. But Wolverine suspects the mutant Forge is the reason they have power, and he demands to see him. Danny tells Wolverine he needs to leave, as she conjures up several demon bears. But Wolverine says demon bears love the smell of fear, and that ain't his scent. 2 days later, with the help of Forge, Wolverine would make his way to Magneto's final resting place. As they reach the crash site, Wolverine asks Forge if he has a high-tech device in order to exhume Magneto, but Forge hands him a shovel. Wolverine and Forge would go on to exhume Magneto's corpse as they need his helmet. Forge would go on to retrofit Magneto's helmet with a touch of shielding and a little bit of vibranium. See, Magneto's helmet is well known for blocking sensory abilities and psychic attacks, and Wolverine is going to need it to take down his first opponent. In a city that's name has been erased, we see Wolverine walking through the streets as he notices all the people have been brainwashed. Wolverine makes his way to this compound and then he sneaks inside. And upon entering the compound, Wolverine sees Mastermind getting his toes licked by all kinds of beautiful bitches. Now, upon seeing this mysterious hooded figure, Mastermind attempts to infiltrate his mind, but what he's not expecting was Wolverine, as Wolverine came equipped with Magneto's helmet. Wolverine proceeds to violently behead Mastermind and then proceeds to walk through the city with his head on display. A short while later, Wolverine would bring the head of Mastermind to Forge. Forge proceeds to use his technology to wire into Mastermind's hippocampus. This process helps Forge ascertain the location of Wolverine's other targets. Now Wolverine picks Sabertooth as his first target and then proceeds to get a bike from Mastermind in order to go confront him. Wolverine proceeds to take this motorcycle and then go confront Sabertooth. But Sabertooth is actually surprised to see Wolverine, as Sabertooth was sure Wolverine would come for him last. Sabertooth informs Wolverine it's a big mistake coming for him first because his revenge ends right here. Sabertooth and Wolverine proceed to duke it out, violently clawing and mutilating each other. Now eventually, Sabertooth would get the upper hand, violently kicking Wolverine in the face and then proceeding to claw Wolverine with an uppercut before smashing his head into the concrete. Sabertooth then grabs the bike that Wolverine rode in on and proceeds to smash Wolverine in the face. Sabertooth lets Wolverine know he thinks he broke his bike, but Wolverine lets Sabertooth know that it's actually not his bike. See, that bike is actually a special bike, as Wolverine borrowed it from Forge. Wolverine then proceeds to violently impale Sabertooth once more with his claws, until Sabertooth comes to the realization that he's not healing. Wolverine lets Sabertooth know that Fran built neutralizers into the headlamps of the bike. So as Wolverine initially rode up on Sabertooth, those headlights were neutralizing Sabertooth's mutant power. Sabertooth charges Wolverine once more, not believing the hype, but Wolverine goes on to finish off Sabertooth once and for all. Back in the city, we see a group of armed men with a boat that seems to be heading south. But the men inform the people that this isn't your average ship. This is a gun-running ship going across the Gibraltar Strait. Right now, there's hundreds of thousands of bodies floating in there. And these men aren't stopping or turning around, so if you're gonna go, you better have some real business there. The men advise the people to turn around, but Wolverine lets the men know that he has unfinished business and he's getting on that boat. Upon boarding the ship, Wolverine does eventually make it across the sea. Wolverine starts heading through the snow as he's making his way towards this nuclear facility. But as he's making his way, he smells something odd before he gets ambushed by none other than Omega Red. Upon seeing Omega Red, Wolverine conversates with him a little before proceeding to engage him. But as Wolverine gets close, he's impaled by several of Omega Red's tentacles. Omega Red says that burning plague in your gut is the last gift you'll ever get from Omega Red. But Omega Red seemingly underestimates Wolverine, as Wolverine slices through Omega Red's tentacles and then proceeds to strangle him with his own tentacles. Omega Red gets zeroed, and then Wolverine proceeds to lynch him and hang him from a tree as a warning sign for anyone that wants to get close. Wolverine makes his way to the nuclear facility and then proceeds to climb up one of the cooling towers in order to get to none other than Deadpool. Now, upon reaching Deadpool, this motherfucker is actually wallowing in his own despair as he actually regrets his earlier actions. Wolverine sits next to Deadpool and the two have a heart-to-heart while being massively irradiated. Luckily, even though they're being irradiated, they're healing just as quick. Now, Deadpool actually plans to commit suicide here by jumping into the nuclear abyss in order to atone for its earlier actions, but Wolverine stops him. Wolverine tells Deadpool he already took care of Mastermind, Sabertooth, and Omega Red, so you know where he's headed next. And Deadpool is like, yeah, let's get this death metal tour shaking, thinking he's about to join Wolverine. But before they go, Wolverine asks Deadpool if he really thinks someone that's done all the things they've done can actually be forgiven. Now Deadpool's like, yeah, you know what, I guess I do. But Wolverine is like, I don't, as Wolverine proceeds to push Deadpool into the nuclear abyss and watch him be disintegrated. 1 week later, we find Wolverine outside of this remote area digging a grave. Now this grave he's digging is for none other than Colossus. Now as Colossus confronts Wolverine, Colossus just wants Wolverine to go away, but Wolverine is like, no. So Colossus knows he only has one option. He has to deal with Wolverine with force. As Colossus and Wolverine duke it out, Colossus grabs Wolverine by the face before proceeding to toss him all the way across the area and into a tree. Colossus then proceeds to try and smash Wolverine, but Wolverine rolls away and then charges Colossus once more and even manages to land a glancing blow. As Colossus bleeds from Wolverine's claws, he lets Wolverine know sometimes you have to pick a side, even allies you despise, because it's best for your family. But Wolverine tells Colossus he was his family, But Colossus disagrees as he charges Wolverine once more. Colossus manages to get a hold of Wolverine and then proceeds to rip off Wolverine's arm. Colossus apologizes that it has to end this way, but Wolverine apologizes right back before sinking his claws into the dome of Colossus and subsequently sending this man to the Shadow Realm. Wolverine picks up his arm and reattaches it before standing over the mutilated remains of Colossus and picking him up and putting him inside his own grave. The moral of the story here is, if you're going to kill Wolverine, do it right. Do it completely. Kill him dead the first time, because Wolverine will come back and he'll make you his bitch. To be continued.